He suddenly felt alienated in the midst of a jingoistic Japanese crowd. The crowd of Chinese people were watching one of their own being executed, but they had no expression. If you have a face with no expression, you have no soul.
The slide convinced me that medical science was not so important after all. The people of a weak and backward country, however strong and healthy their bodies might be, could only be victims or witnesses of senseless horrors. The important thing, therefore, was to change their spirit.
他就是看到那么多中国人在这围观。
He saw that many Chinese just stood by and looked, and they were silent with a dull curiosity. They lacked any anger or rage. They lacked these emotions. The Chinese were all numb. Lu Xun was perhaps the first writer who looked squarely in the eye of the ugly nature of the character of the Chinese people.
Lu Xun decided to become a writer. He returned to China in 1909. With a pen instead of a scalpel, he went searching for a cure to the sickness in China's soul. In 1911, 2 years after Lu Xun returned home, his country surprised him. Led by Sun Yat-sen, revolutionaries overthrew the Manchu dynasty. Barbers cut off the old queues, but new haircuts weren't enough to solve old problems. The new government was too weak and divided to come to terms with the foreign countries that controlled China's coastal cities. China was no match for the destructive power of the West. "10,000 miles away from the Pacific, World War I devastated Europe. But it also had a powerful effect on China and Japan. China sent 100,000 laborers to the Western Front. They worked for the Allied side in hopes of winning the German concession on China's Shandong Peninsula. But when the war ended, the victors awarded the German concession to mighty Japan, who had made secret agreements with the Western powers and awarded special loans to the needy and corrupt Chinese government. In Beijing, the capital of China, 3,000 angry students gathered in Tiananmen Square, the gate of heavenly peace. They marched in protest to the embassies of the colonial powers, then burned the house of a Chinese minister closely linked with the Japanese. It was the beginning of a new kind of patriotism, meant to protect China from without while curing its social sickness from within. The movement took its name from the date it began, May 4th. Lu Xun was writing in his study when he heard the sounds of protest. They made him feel that the intellectual and the writer might begin to play a more powerful role.
Literature should be on the vanguard of a cultural enterprise, which then could lead toward the creation of a new nation state. So literature, culture, ideas, and nationalism. This was part of the May 4th movement.
Lu Xun wanted to believe in the May 4th movement, but worried about the barriers to change. He called China's traditional culture a prison house from which there might be no escape.
He had a decade of depression after he returned from Japan, because all his early efforts of trying to use literature to explore the national soul came to nothing. One of his friends said that if you can really write and produce and use literature as a way of breaking down this prison house, then there might be hope. Hope becomes a possibility after you destroy something. So destruction means hope.
With hope, Lu Xun set out to destroy China's traditional culture. He began with his hometown of Shaoxing.